So the first thing people are probably going to ask is Warriors Orochi 4 a good game? And to that I'll say it is quite average. It does the typical Koei thing of doing something quite well and then something really, really badly. For this game it's kind of a mixed bag. I'd say quite a lot of it is just like boring and uninspired, but then quite a lot of it is quite good, such as, you know, the sacred treasures and the actual gameplay, although I would say that has actually taken quite a hit from the previous game. So let's go over the story first of all. So I've completed the story. I completed it last night. It is 51 stages across 5 chapters, although they're not equally distributed. The first chapter is only 3 stages, and then the last 2 chapters are like 18 each or something like that. And there's 20 extra missions as well where you unlock some side characters, and quite a few of those actually you don't unlock any characters at all. So yeah, and some surprising characters they didn't include in the story at all. Some of the characters are literally just in the game to be played, like they have nothing to do with the story at all, which is a bit strange. So the story is actually quite good. The plot is, you know, is fairly decent, although there's loads of problems with how it's actually implemented. It does what I absolutely hate in a Warriors game, is when they bring up this thing where the static pictures just talk to each other. That, I mean, that is like 90% of the storytelling in this game. Why? Which actually brings me on to the camp mechanic, which got removed. That would have been a good place for them to have characters interact, like say in something like Persona 5, because that's the game I played before this. In Persona 5 they have like a bunch of stock animations the characters all go through whilst having their picture come up in the corner and then they talk. That's a relatively cost-effective way of doing things, and that's how most RPGs do it. Why Koei couldn't do that? I mean, stock animations on the menu anyway, characters all go through them. I hilariously managed to capture 2 characters doing exactly the same animation at the same time, so it's not like they have unique ones or anything. I just think that's such a lazy way of trying to tell a story. I mean, Spirit of Sanada had that, but most of it was standing around. I mean, I'd love to have that instead of this, you know, just bring up some pictures and some text. I mean, it's so pointless. But that is sort of the least of the worries for the story, because they tried to get loads of characters to sort of have a spotlight, have it fair as in a way. It's not like Warriors Orochi 3 where there's like main protagonists such as like Ma Chao, Sima Zhao and Hanbei, and then they have their own little stages where they're the commander, and then you go and save, you know, your best mates and all that shit. So they don't have that in this game. I mean, there are a few recurring ones. One of them is actually Ma Chao, but one of the early characters you unlock is Sun Xuan, and he never appears again. And same with Susanoo. He appears in chapter 2 and then doesn't come back until the very last stage. I'm like, why? It doesn't focus on certain characters other than the ones which got the god forms, which some stages are just like mix and match. It'd be like Yukimura and Naotora go somewhere, or Yukimura and Guan Yinping go somewhere. There's no, like, I don't know, they don't have like combined, they don't have their own little force, if you know what I mean. They have certain stages. The story is actually very linear. It's one unified thing. You don't get to pick which order you do the story like in Warriors Orochi 3, which you could forgive because it was time travel. Like, you could, like, that made more narrative sense, and from a gameplay standpoint, the time travel thing was like, you can literally go back as any character, and then the stage, like, that technically could be chronologically done, if you know what I mean. And another thing, comparing it to Warriors Orochi 3, in Orochi 3, if you played as a character that was already in the stage, it would replace them with a generic, but because there's so few generics in allied forces in this game, 2 of the character will appear in a stage. So if you play as Sun Quan in a stage where Sun Quan appears, there's 2 of them, and if you play as a stage with Kai in it, there's 2 Kais. Like, okay then. Basically, the team you have has no impact on the story. You're literally just there to kill people. You have no impact. There's no unique dialogue across the story stages at all, because the characters are going to be in the stage regardless whether or not. So that's a bit stupid. Going on about unique dialogue, the new character interactions in this game, there's no in-battle dialogue if they're both in the same stage. For some reason. I have no idea why. So for example, Toshiie, one of his new, I can't remember who one of his new interactions was. I think it's like Zhang, no, it's not Zhang Fei. But whatever it is, he basically has the ones from Samurai Warriors 4 and no more. Which is a bit weird. So yeah, he has like celebration lines for Keiji and Katsuie, but no new characters. And same with Kai, like she has Guan Yin Ping as one of her Bond characters, and she doesn't do that. Although, actually I'll get onto it in a minute. I've probably been railing on this a bit too much. So going into the story, the stages are heavily scripted. In Dynasty Warriors 8 and Samurai Warriors 4 and its certain spin-offs, yes, they did script the stages, but not to such a degree as in this game. Basically, you can load up a stage and it'll be blank. There'll be no enemies in it at all, and then everybody suddenly jumps out the woodwork, as well as having things like they'll cut off basically every garrison just to make sure you go from A to B, which is really stupid. Some of the later stages don't actually do that, which makes them feel more like an actual Warriors game, which is really nice. Those are probably the best stages. But yeah, I think for me that was why I was comparing it to Warriors All-Stars, because Warriors All-Stars sort of did the same, except the way they handled it was you have to be a certain in-battle level. I can't even remember what the Brave system, wasn't it? Yeah, you have to be a certain level of Brave to defeat enemies, which was like their way of saying you can't go here. So in this game they're a bit more upfront with it, like they literally close off everything for you. Yeah, so in like Samurai Warriors 4 you'd have like bonus missions and stuff. You don't get that here, which is a bit annoying. One of the additions I did like in the story though is there's things called Pandemonium stages, which include the character Hundun. It's basically like playing the stage again, however it immediately sets the difficulty to chaos, or chaotic difficulty, whichever they're going to translate it to in English. And then Hundun will appear in the stage. I think it's up to 3 times he'll appear. I've only seen him 3 times. Yeah, and you have to defeat him. There is actually one change in Chaos mode which I've noticed is if you swap character and they have like low health, usually it would regenerate. I've noticed that it doesn't. I'm not sure if that's an intended mechanic or a glitch, or if it's just in the Pandemonium stages, but that is quite interesting that they don't regenerate health. But in the normal difficulties it does, which is quite a nice change. Makes the game a bit harder. Speaking of difficulty, this game is incredibly easy. I wouldn't really say there's any difference between easy, normal and hard, other than the enemies hit a bit harder, and on hard, peons will attack you. However, if you have decent enough weapon attributes, you just become an absolute monster. Things like Absorb, which used to regenerate health on a charge attack, that regenerates on every attack, and the values for it are absolutely ridiculous. You can basically heal your whole life bar in like 1 hit in some cases in this game, which makes you wonder why there's even a difficulty in the first place. Attributes like Slay and Bolt are absolutely broken as well, so there's always that. The AI in the game is pretty poor as well. I don't think Koei still know how to do AI in this game. There are a few times where, for some reason, they'll just make an enemy officer be able to one-shot anything, which makes you wonder, like, why even have a difficulty if you're just going to do that? So that's another thing. Yeah, there's one stage where Odin, just a normal attack, can kill you because you had the audacity to go near him. And the thing is, you actually need to defeat him to complete the stage. So Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Yes, going on to stages now. So I said there was like 71 stages in the game, which is quite nice. However, the amount of stages that are reused in this game is utterly pathetic. I think I've had the Battle of Nagashino about 4 or 5 times, and that's not replaying the stages either. It is genuinely used that many times. There is only one original stage in the game, which is used at the end of chapter 4 and 5, as well as the stage before in chapter 5, which, so you get it twice in a row. You know, how magical. Yeah, of all the stages they could have like reused, there's loads that aren't. I'll put a list of all the stages that are reused, and if they don't appear on the list, they weren't in the game. So I'll have like Dynasty Warriors and then Samurai Warriors. Although some of the stages are sort of combined, so the stage like Odawara Castle will be mixed in with one castle from Dynasty Warriors 8. It'll be like the whole bottom part of the map. They literally just cut bits off and then pasted them on the opposite game's map, which is makes a bit of a change. However, it's still rather disappointing. I mean, this game was built on 2 games that one of them was used 7 times. For Samurai Warriors, this is the 7th time they've reused Samurai Warriors 4 assets, and at the moment it's just taking the piss. This game lacks original content really badly. Initially I didn't actually mind the guest characters being taken out, but then the more I thought about it, that would have made this game a bit more fresh. If they updated some of their moves and all stuff like that, that would have been really cool, like to play as Hayabusa again. And you could give them, you know, the magic attacks and all that, but, you know, they opted to go for 5 god characters, which are ridiculously overpowered and broken. But so going into the other thing is the god forms. The god forms basically, I don't know why people were getting such a huff about, oh, my favourite character didn't get a god form. Okay, it went to all the typical characters, and yeah, I was kind of disappointed because the 3 Samurai Warriors characters that were in Warriors All Stars all got one for some reason, you know, because they're so bloody important. Lubu and Xiaoyun that were also in Warriors All Stars also got them as well. It doesn't really do anything, the god form. It regenerates Musou, I know that, and they get their R1 magic attack changes to something to do with the god that they're representing. Guan Yinping is Freya, and she like dances around and flowers come out and stuff. Yeah, you activate it by using Rage Mode, and Rage Mode appears as a random drop from enemies in this game, and sometimes they don't drop any at all, and I've had 8 stages in a row where I didn't get a single Rage Mode because, you know, fantastic RNG. So, yeah. And another thing to go in the story is the online co-op play doesn't work. Thankfully, if you're playing a stage and somebody joins you and they leave, you can continue the stage. I had this the other day with X the Master X. We were playing co-op, and then for some reason it just cut out, you know, great netcode. And I believe one of the demonstrations they had, they were playing co-op, and it dropped in that as well. So, you know, that was always good. So now I think I'll go into gameplay. So gameplay, they've retained the types from the previous games, barring wonder types. I do say they retained the types, but basically they haven't really done too much, and it's a bit. I don't really know what to say. So speed types remain basically unchanged, although an ability you can unlock later, because every character has to have a skill tree in this game now, is you can get an extra dash in the air, which is quite nice. It's actually a viable way to sort of run around stages if you have a crappy horse, which is quite good. Technique types are now, well, technique types are essentially just wonder types, except they renamed them. Sidestep isn't a mechanic for technique characters now, unless they're a Samurai Warriors character, because all Samurai Warriors characters have the sidestep, but the Dynasty Warriors ones don't, because reasons. Although everybody now does get the Spirit Charge mechanic, so if you attack, you press X and you charge into them and break their guard, and obviously you still remain your critical hits when you knock people in the air. So that's probably the only one retaining type mechanic from technique from the previous game. Power types now have an ability where when you attack you hold block and then it stops attacking, goes straight into a block, which is really nice. It's you do have to hold it down for about a second and then they'll stop. So it does take a bit of getting used to. Now, one of the things with the types in the previous game were so speed types, their R1 attack would be Little Musou, not very damaging attack, but you know, it's quick and whatever. It's more like a disrupting attack basically. Technique and Wonder sort of did medium damage, medium amount of Musou being used, and then power types would take a lot of your Musou away and do a lot of damage. So in this game they've replaced that with the magic system, and everybody's unique magic attack does roughly the same in terms of damage, area of effect, and cost. It all costs all of your magic plus 1 Musou bar. Yeah, they sort of made the character types a bit redundant in that regard. I kind of don't like, but then I also like that they kind of got an extra Musou. Speaking of Musous, utterly pointless in this game. They do such little damage, and the fact they cost 2 Musou to use for an attack that basically doesn't do anything is a bit of a joke. So Dynasty Warriors characters do actually get their air Musous, which is quite nice, although like I said, no, that basically doesn't do anything. Yeah, quite a few characters changed to their R1 Musou from Dynasty Warriors 8 as well, so like Yuan Shao and Sun Shang changed. And also you get Rage Musous as well. You only get 2 bars of Musou in this game, so your Rage Musous don't last as long as they would in Dynasty Warriors 8 or Empires. Samurai Warriors characters obviously have their normal Musou and their Rage Musou, which is a bit annoying because their Rage Musou is stationary for every character, which kind of makes it a bit pointless in a way. Not that you're going to be wanting to use it anyway. Original characters only get 1 Musou. It's the same regardless if you use it normally or in Rage mode. And I've been railing on about Musous for a while, so basically just don't use them. Although I've noticed certain characters do get elemental effects whilst using them. So like Noir does actually get elements proc on her Musou when she uses it, which is quite nice. Although I wouldn't really say it's that effective, but you know, it's quite good. So another thing that's in the game is the team attack mechanic, or we just call it a tactical nuke, because you know it's the attack you've probably seen a few times where they summon a massive ball of energy and then your characters come out and then do a Kamehameha thingy and then cause an explosion. So with that becomes quite pointless after a while. If you're playing on hard, you'll have a trouble actually defeating peons with it. You can't change the damage from what I know. Yeah, it does the same thing as the, I think I can't remember what they're called. They're called like team attacks or whatever in the previous game, where all your characters will come out at once and they'll attack a bunch of enemies and you attack a bunch of enemies, and then your rewards were determined on your performance in that. So when your gauge ran down, you could choose to attack officers, like prioritize them, or just try and kill as many peons as possible and whatever. But in this, unless you severely damage the officers in the later stages, you're not killing them. Like, even generics, it has trouble killing them. And it's just so like uninspired. It's the same for every character. I don't get why they changed it, and it just looks boring and uninspired, to be honest. So there's always that. So yeah, I should probably go into the Sacred Treasure mechanic. So like I said, there's an R1 circle move for everybody, which basically counts as a Musou. I mean, if you use it whilst in Rage mode, it does end Rage mode, so confirmed from Musou. Contrary to what people believed about this game, well, before it released, everybody thought Sacred Treasures would be able to be changed across characters, and that is not true. I can confirm it. So it's quite annoying if you have 2 characters which both use it. So I have Kai and Keiji in my team, they both use the trident. Yeah, you can't change it. It would have been nice if you could change it. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the DLC, if they'll implement that later. But everybody that uses the same treasure has the same animations for the R1 square, which is a stun attack, and then R1 triangle, which is a more damaging attack and sometimes does have lasting effects, like the trident causes a ring of water to appear around you and it sucks enemies in. It doesn't actually damage them though, that bit. And I've also noticed with the sacred treasures, they don't count towards your combos. If you use the sacred treasure in the middle of a combo, it just kills your combo count. So yeah, do make sure to be aware of that. Kind of a downside for me, they sort of generalised the way the characters play in this game, and there's sort of no reason for them to actually use their sacred treasure in some of their unique attacks. I mean, it could have just been, you know, the R1 attacks. I do like the sacred treasure system, don't get me wrong. You can use it whilst in the middle of a combo, and there's a few enemies in the game which you have to use the magic to kill them, and it's certainly a better way of trying to kill stuff over them so. And enemy officers will actually use their sacred treasure against you. It has like a lock-on symbol appear on the screen, and then you have to use yours before they use theirs, and it will sort of cancel it out. It doesn't make officers a threat though, so yeah, evade is now speed mechanic in this game rather than technique types. All Samurai Warriors characters get the sidestep mechanic as well, so that was removed. So I'm just looking at my notes and I can't remember what I've read, because I'm not recording this whilst playing it, I'm just doing it normally. I think that probably sums it up about the way characters play. Also, there is a lock-on mechanic for this game, although it's never really needed. I've hardly used it at all. I think it was good in Warriors All-Stars because it was linked to the evade system, which kind of makes sense. Because in that game it was more, because there's less characters, it's more focused on like one-on-one fighting and stuff. Whereas in this, you never really need it. There's not a sufficient dodge mechanic in this game to sort of warrant using the lock-on, unless you like, you know, your combo videos or whatever. But so yeah, there's always that. We'll go on to the main menu now. This is easily my biggest gripe with this game. It is such a mess. It's boring and uninspired. The way you select stages are, you go to the very left and then you select a stage, and then it will just bring up like a wall of text. That symbol at the bottom is actually for rare weapons, or I'm not sure what they're called, like Olympic weapons. They're not mystic weapons though, I'll say that. So there is another rank of like hidden weapons to get in this game. I haven't unlocked any though. Despite my best efforts. There's no recommended teams for this game. Like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter who you play as. It doesn't show you a picture of the stage either, which I just think it's just so... Like, the visual presentation of this game is severely lacking across like all boards. So as you can see in the background, there's usually like your characters standing there. They all do stock animations, so I'm not sure what was sort of going on there. Yeah, the character select screen is the single biggest farce in this game. Like, how you're supposed to find anything. The previous games obviously split the characters into, you know, Shu, Wu, Wei, other two, other three, Samurai Warriors 1, Samurai Warriors 2, Samurai Warriors 3, and it would have been Samurai Warriors 4 in this one. Like, you can easily go to the faction you want, find your character, and pick them. But in this game, like, you have to press the touchpad button on the PS4 and then select like sort by blah blah blah. It's like, why you couldn't have just made another menu? Because, you know, they made it so important you have to look at your characters, what they're doing in the background, that you have to have each character's names and stuff. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to find anything in this? It's a bloody joke. And then, yeah, so this menu is the replacement to the camp mode from 3, because, you know, they had to remove that instead of expanding upon it, you know, the typical Koei fashion. It's just a joke. Like, what were they thinking? Yeah, this game is all menus, by the way. Oh, one thing I actually forgot to mention is they removed items from the game as well, so there's less customization in the terms of how you play the game with your characters. so you can't, you know, massively increase your attack or your defense or your speed or whatever, or, you know, have the hidden items that buff up your attack massively and lower it if you wanted to be like a one-hit kill warrior and all that stuff. I'm severely disappointed in that. I think adding rare items that do unique things is quite cool. I think one of them as well was like constantly regenerate Musou in exchange for taking more damage and stuff like that. I think that's like really cool. But, you know, remove that because of time constraints which they put on themselves. Where were we? Menus, yes. Everybody now has a skill tree as well. You have to go through like 200 things to just upgrade the characters you want, because it's not organised in any sort of sense other than having to sort it yourself, because, you know, that's what you want to do. You want to be wasting more time just to try and get to the characters you want. Another thing, growth points in this game aren't sufficient to, if you unlock a new character, to boost them up to a level suitable for the next stage. They sort of expect you to go grinding, which very unenjoyable in this game, I must say. Really struggling to think of what to say now. Yeah, so every character has skill trees. It's based on type as far as I know. All power types will have roughly the same grid, and so will speed type characters and technique type characters all have the same. You get points when you level up, which contribute to you gaining the skills. Quite a lot of the time it does take a fair few levels until you have enough points to buy some of the later skills, which is, you know, fair enough. Can't blame them. Also linking to that is, going on about the skill system again, you have to buy attacks, because, you know, that's what people absolutely loved about Spirit Sanada, having to buy attacks instead of, you know, all the previous games where you just get them from leveling up. No, that's too good apparently, and you've got to make your skill trees look like they've got something worthwhile in there. So, you know, buy attacks, you know, absolutely fantastic. Some of the skills as well are pretty pointless. It's like more health. Yeah, because, you know, that was what was needed, wasn't it? More health. And I think another one is like more health, attack and defense. Although some of the later skills are like I said earlier, dash twice in the air, which is quite nice. So, you know, it's not all bad, but it's just pretty pointless. It's fluff around the edges. It's yeah, artificially increasing the length of the game in a way. Going into that, there is weapon system in this game, so they've kept all the weapon attributes from the previous game. One of the changes I do like is they've color coded them now, so very basic skills are just black. Then there's bronze, which is usually your elements, and then there's silver, which includes the slay element and things like absorb and osmosis, so, you know, when you attack and you gain more life and so they're like silver ones. And then your gold abilities from the previous game do make a return in this as gold abilities, which is quite nice, although they've totally destroyed Echo. That's quite pointless. As soon as you attack, it knocks enemies so far away that you can't get up any decent combos, so there's always that. So instead, in this game of you fusing weapons together, you can't do that. It's essentially like the orb system, where you would pick the skills you want from a list and you add them by that way. However, the way you get your weapon attributes are by melting down previous weapons, which is alright, I guess. When you finish a stage, you get like an absolute ton of weapons. So you can either sell them by pressing square, or you press X on them and it will melt them down, which is quite good. However, I would have just liked it if, like, you know, you get a new weapon, you just upgrade it right there and then. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not too bad a system, although you do actually have to use a camp upgrade to get the ability to buy the weapon attributes, because when you add an attribute to a weapon, so one of them will be like you have 90 out of 10 in stock, so obviously it costs 10 to put one attribute on your weapon, and then the next if you want to upgrade that skill, it goes up to, you need 12 to do it, so you very, very quickly run out of your attributes to add to your weapons. But you know, just sell everything every time you get it, and you know, it's good as gold. So going on about the weapons as well, one thing I do like, and I've always said this, is the main weapons or default weapons you get in the character renders are actually the first weapon in this game, which I really do like. The rubbishy looking weapons, like, who uses those? And just like, why smear the Mona Lisa in dog shit, basically? Like, you have really good character designs and then you give them a weapon that was like basically picked out of a bin. But so yeah, they've made it so it's a default weapon, so that's very nice. So for Samurai Warriors characters, you get your normal weapon, and then your rank 2 weapon is a recolor, and then your rank 3 weapon upwards is the rare weapon model, so you only get 3 weapon models. The same with Dynasty Warriors characters. You get your stock one, your default one, as it were, and then you go to your 4th weapon, and then your 5th weapon upwards. So they do actually have 3 different ones, not a recolor. So yeah, there's always that. I would have thought they would have had a different weapon model for each rank of weapon, but they don't, which is quite annoying. Yeah, I think I've described that. Also in the menu, they've decided to hash in the gallery mode there because, you know, whatever. I've already gone on about unique dialogue. There basically isn't any. Oh, another thing to mention is going on about the combat, which I totally forgot. So when you select your team, you get your team at the top and then your horse, and then below is 4 characters. So each character has individual values that they will add to buff up the 3 character types. So your first number is power, then it's technique, and then it's speed. Yeah, you can rearrange them in any sort of form. That's the other 4 characters in your tactical nuke thing, as it were. So that's where they appear from. As far as I know, they don't actually gain levels from doing that, which, like, this game they really do expect you to grind, which I can't say I'm going to be too pleased about. But there's always that. And if a character that they interact with, this is the only bit of unique dialogue, by the way. If you have somebody interact with a character, so if you have Guan Yin Ping in the bottom row and you select Kai for your top row, they'll actually say something to each other. I thought it was a glitch to begin with, because I selected Kai and she had a different voice. I was like, what? And no, it's actually Guan Yin Ping, because they like talk to each other. So that's the only bit of unique dialogue. The bond system as well. When you go on your character select screen, you press square, and then it brings up, you know, your typical storytelling of your characters talk back and forth in those static pictures. Yeah, and that's the bond system basically. And you gain bond levels from just being in a battle. You don't even need your partner to be in the battle either, which is really stupid. So they went from, you know, a relatively decent system in Warriors Orochi 3 to having a ridiculous system in Warriors All-Stars where you'd have to level up the bonds either side to get a unique event, and now in this it's like they don't even need to be in the same stage. So I have no idea what they were thinking with that. But, you know, it's an easy way to see all of them. So there's always that. That's not too bad, I guess. Let's go on about the downgrades now. This will probably be the last part of the video. So downgrades from Warriors Orochi 3. The fighting game mode, or a multiplayer, whatever it was, you know, when it had it, so your characters it would be like sort of a fighting game except with Musou characters. Yeah, they removed that. Gauntlet mode got removed. So Battlefields got removed. I haven't actually tried free mode. I can't imagine it's any different though, because you can just select any stage at any time. The online, from when I tried to try it, it was dead. So, you know, that was good. Alternate costumes, there isn't any, unless it's DLC or characters that change in Dynasty Warriors 8. So Shahudun obviously gets his eye patchless model, Sumashi without his mask, and Shahudun without his helmet and stuff like that. Yeah, there's no Samurai Warriors 3 costumes. There's no Dynasty Warriors 7 costumes. There's not even recolours. The colour editor's gone as well. What else is there? Yeah, colour editor gone. Alternate costumes gone. I'm trying to think what else was there. Yeah, items are gone as well. They binned that. One of the upgrades they actually have in this game is characters say the officer defeated quote as an in-battle line, so it doesn't have so much dialogue lag, which I really do like. And also, going back into the magic system, I totally forgot about this. If you press R1X, you instantly get on your horse. It just summons it out of nowhere, which is like the best system. Because in Samurai Warriors 4-2, they managed to mess up calling a horse. They would just sort of run around aimlessly looking for you, so you wouldn't have to start running to your destination straight away. I don't think there's really much else to say. So overall, the game is quite average. The game's fun, I'll put it there. I had more fun playing the later stages though. I think I don't really know what to say. Anyway, there's less stage variety in this game than Warriors Orochi 3. There's so much like reused content in this game. It's just really sad. One of the stages I wanted to see return was is it Battle of Changshan? I think it's in Lubu Store. It's like the first hidden stage. That map is like one of the best ones. It's only used for one stage. Doesn't return in Empires. Returns in Godseekers as like some Chengdu stage, but it's not reused in this as an actual battle, which is quite annoying. I would have liked to seen more stage variety, which is something this game severely lacks. Yeah, the Spirit of Sanada character's out as well, and the ironic thing about that is the Sekigahara map and Nagashino maps both use the Spirit of Sanada reskins. They use all the textures from Spirit of Sanada, because why not? And also the Yellow Turban stage is the Warriors All-Stars version, because it has the little paths on the side of the middle bit. Just a few observations for you there. So I think that's probably about it. There's a lot of things to probably a lot to take in and a lot to edit in this video. I did ramble on. I didn't write this all out because I'd be here for fucking ever doing it, and everybody's kind of jumping on this game straight away. Is it a good game? It's quite average. Is it better than Warriors Orochi 3? No. Is it better than 1? No. Is it better than 2? Maybe. My thing is, I don't think Warriors Orochi 2 is that good. It sort of started taking the piss a bit with reusing stuff, and the downgrades it got was a bit pointless. So it's better than Warriors All Stars. It's better than Dynasty Warriors 9. Obviously, I mean that's not difficult. Shouting at one of my own turds is better than Dynasty Warriors 9. So yeah, it's not a bad game. I would recommend it if you haven't played a majority of the games that it's based on. Samurai Warriors 4 and Dynasty Warriors 8 are better games by an absolute landslide. Is this the worst Warriors Orochi game? Maybe. It's very middle of the road, this game. It does a lot of things good, a lot of things bad. And one thing I forgot to mention, a training mode, so you can try out new moves. That's quite nice. And you don't actually have to reload it if you want to try new characters, so that's always good. I don't think there's much else to say. Yeah, probably should have made a few more bullet points for this now. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to cry myself to sleep now and play a better game, Valkyria Chronicles 4. So yeah, it's fun, but is it a game that's going to fully redeem themselves from Dynasty Warriors 9? Probably not. I think they should have put more effort into this game, certainly. The reusing of the stages is probably one of the biggest insults. They had so much stage variety in Samurai Warriors 4 and Dynasty Warriors 8. There were loads of stages that aren't used at all. So I'm not really sure what was going on there. And also, hilariously, because they didn't want to import the sword moveset from the previous games, like, you know, Sun Quan's old moveset, sword generic officers now use Dian Wei's moveset. They don't use an axe, they use a sword, and there's like Norse generic officers, and they use the greatsword moveset for like a hand axe. It's really weird. Yeah, so there's always that. I will answer things in the comments, so if there's anything you want to know, do say down there. And just before you ask a question, do make sure that nobody else has already said it, because I'm not repeating myself. So thank you very much for watching if you did. Sorry this was a massive ramble, which is about 50 minutes long. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.